LLMs lie. They lie all the time. They lie in different ways. They lie so often it's been given a term, hallucination. These hallucinations are so unbelievably common that I am now paranoid about everything an LLM says to me, and I will never ever trust an LLM. I'm a software developer, and every single other software developer I speak to has this same intuition, having worked with LLMs for the past 6 months. Maybe you also have this intuition, but maybe someone you know doesn't. Well, I'm making this video so that you can share this video with that person so that they never again trust an LLM implicitly. I'm finding that even the very, very smart people in my life, for some reason, don't have this intuition that LLMs hallucinate all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm really pro LLM. I really like LLMs. I think LLMs have massively improved my quality of life in terms of my job, in terms of what they can produce. I think LLMs are great. But they have massive downsides, and because they're presented so beautifully, then people just don't realize that. So we're going to work through 3 things. We're going to look at all the different types of hallucinations. We're going to look at why hallucinations even happen in the first place and why it's such a hard problem to solve. And then we're going to look at how to work around them when you're working with LLMs day to day. I'm going to explain these to you in simple terms because the simple terms are the only ones I really know. I've been working with LLMs for, I don't know, a year and a half or something, but I'm not a machine learning expert. I don't work at OpenAI or anything. I'm just coming at this from someone who likes to talk about LLMs and who likes to use them day to day. I'm going to reference a couple of academic papers which I will put below. In fact, the first one is this comprehensive taxonomy of hallucinations in large language models. In other words, these guys went and looked at all of the different ways that language models can hallucinate and figured out the exact taxonomy of what types of hallucinations can happen. Perfect for us. The first one is pretty easy to think about. It's factual errors. This has been present since the very beginning of LLMs. For instance, when Google announced Bard, they said in its experimental conversational AI service powered by Lambda, it said, "What new discoveries from the James Webb Space Telescope can I tell my 9-year-old about?" And it said JWST took the very first pictures of a planet outside of our own solar system. This was in the frickin' advert. They didn't even try to road test this. This is just wrong. It's a hallucination. After posting this, Alphabet's share price dropped like 8%. Now, it's crucial to say here, in this case, they didn't pass the LLM a document explaining all about the James Webb Space Telescope and the new discoveries. It seems like they just asked it based on its training data. This is a super important distinction that the paper actually makes. There are 2 types of hallucinations. There are hallucinations based on intrinsic information and extrinsic information. Intrinsic information is stuff that you've sent to the LLM during this conversation with the LLM. For instance, I'll go on Anthropic here and I'll tell it my cat is called Bandit. It gives some reply here saying that's a great name for a cat. Wonderful, thank you. And now I'll ask it, what is my cat's name? Then of course it says your cat's name is Bandit, you just told me in your previous message. So if the LLM for some reason got that wrong, then it would be an intrinsic hallucination. Whereas if I start a new conversation with the LLM and I say, what is my cat's name? Then very good. In this case, it has not attempted to guess my cat's name. It's just saying I don't have any information about your cat in my context. And so if it attempted to guess here, then it would be an extrinsic hallucination. The next type of hallucination is fabricated entities, inventing stuff that just doesn't exist. This is actually really important for developers because developers rely on these things called packages that package up useful tools to help them do their work. So if you ask an LLM, does a package exist for this purpose? Then it's very likely to just say, yep, it does. This has personally happened to me dozens of times, and it's now opening up developers to supply chain malware attacks. Attackers can exploit a common AI experience, false recommendations, to spread malicious code via developers that use ChatGPT to create software. This is an old article, but this literally just happened to me the other day. And it's not just packages. LLMs will make up government departments, they will make up laws that don't exist, they will make up all sorts of things. The next one is contextual inconsistency. In other words, ignoring or contradicting context that you explicitly provided. This would be an intrinsic hallucination like what we saw before. This article is from 2024. Air Canada found liable for chatbot's bad advice on plane tickets. This guy called Jake Moffat asked the Air Canada chatbot about their bereavement policy. And even though the bereavement policy was probably in the LLM's context, it had been explicitly told about it, explicitly passed into its context, it just made something up. It said, if you need to travel immediately or you've already traveled and would like to submit your ticket for a reduced bereavement rate, kindly do so within 90 days of the ticket was issued. But when they tried to get their money back, they basically responded and admitted the chatbot had provided misleading words. In other words, a contextual inconsistency, an inconsistency with something that the LLM just had in its own context window. This would be kind of like the LLM not knowing my cat's name just after I gave it to it. It's baffling that these things occur, but they do. Now, I could go through all 10 of these terms from this paper and try to explain to you about each and every one of them, but I think you're starting to get the picture. LLMs are unreliable, and especially if you're relying on their extrinsic knowledge. My experience with LLMs is that they're much, much more reliable when you send them the information first. Of course, why wouldn't they be? But if you're relying on their extrinsic knowledge from their training sets, then you're going to be disappointed. We should talk in a kind of basic sense about why this is, first of all. The process of training an LLM, of taking a bunch of training data and turning it into something smaller, is essentially a compression. You take, let's say, a massive file with all of the stuff that you've gathered over the course of all of your data scraping, huge amounts of data sets about all the different, text or everything on the internet, let's say. You then, through some very clever mechanisms that I won't go into, you compress it down into a much smaller size that can fit on a GPU. And this compressed version of that training set is what we can think of as the LLM's brain, or its memory, or its data store. And the output here is much, much, much smaller than the input. Now, when you're taking some massive training set and you're squishing it down into a smaller size, you're going to lose stuff. For instance, let's take this photo of this beautiful man and let's compress it a little bit. Okay, it's not bad. You can still see it's me, but I've lost a bit of definition here. You can't quite tell how many wrinkles there are on my forehead, for instance. We compress it a bit more and the skin has been kind of smoothed out. I've lost a lot of definition. And you go all the way and I just end up like this blobby looking person that you can barely recognize it's me. When you ask an LLM a question and it's not in their training set, I want you to imagine that this is the picture that they're seeing of the information they have. Just a blobby, crappy, hyper-compressed version of the information that was once there. And look, you can still get good answers out of this image. It can still say, okay, what color is the little cap on the end of my microphone here? It is blue, right? That is visible from the image. You could probably just about say that this man doesn't have any hair on his head too. But if you ask about who it is or how old this person is or, any of that, it's not going to have a clue. So the question then becomes, if LLMs only have this crappy low-res version of all of the information in the world, why are they so insistent on guessing? Because an LLM presented with this information and you asked who they are, they will often just have a go and guess. Now, the answer for this comes from the second paper that I want to link to, which is below. It's from OpenAI and the title is Why Language Models Hallucinate. Like students facing hard exam questions, large language models sometimes guess when uncertain, producing plausible yet incorrect statements instead of admitting uncertainty. We argue that the language models hallucinate because the training and evaluation procedures reward guessing over acknowledging uncertainty. Now, what do they mean by evaluation procedures? What are they talking about? Well, LLMs prove that they're getting better over time by showing their numbers in benchmarks. For instance, here, this one is live bench. I think this is a leaderboard of multiple benchmarks, and you can see that all of the top models here are rated a number out of 100 on how good they are at different things. For instance, reasoning, coding, agentic coding, mathematics, data analysis, language, etc. Being at the top of these leaderboards is incredibly valuable for these companies. If you can say you have the best model in the world at something, then everyone who's doing that thing is going to want to use your model, because it's actually really easy to swap models. You just stop using one thing and go and use another thing. And there's a tension that these benchmarks introduce, because if your model is really well tuned to say, I don't know something when it comes to, let's say, maths, then it's probably not going to score very well on the maths benchmark, because it might just be better on average for it to have a guess. In other words, you miss all of the shots that you don't take. And so LLMs try to take as many shots as possible. In fact, there's kind of a tension inherent in designing LLMs, and you can think of this kind of by thinking of it in human terms. It's quite rare to meet a person who's really, really smart, but also really humble about their smartness. People who are really smart, especially in an exam context, will probably be smart enough to get close to the right answer and will trust themselves and be confident enough to actually work it out. But people who are humble enough to say, I don't know, will probably go in the opposite direction, where they might not be confident confident enough to actually get it done. However, if you're really smart, you're often going to be way too confident about your own answers. And this will lead to hallucinations. In other words, all the stuff that we've been talking about so far. But if you're on the other side and you're not confident enough, then you're probably not going to do really well in the domains where you need really, really deep thinking. And the people who grade LLMs and who train LLMs need to figure out somewhere on this line, and I'm not sure it's a solvable problem. Or rather, it might be solvable, but it's going to be someone way above my pay grade. So to sum it up, LLMs hallucinate because guessing is more highly rewarded than refusal, which, to be honest, is kind of true in most walks of life anyway. So then we now know how LLMs hallucinate, and we kind of understand why LLMs hallucinate. But why, after all of that, am I still so pro AI? Why do I still like AI? Well, it's because when you actually pass them intrinsic information here, if you actually send them stuff, if you get them to peruse a big document or something, then it tends to be really, really accurate, way more accurate than extrinsic information. So when I'm coding, for instance, I can pass my code base or, big files to the LLM and get it to answer questions about it, get it to explore the code, and it will give me really, really good insights as to what it's doing. In other words, when you're using AI, you need to always make sure that you're providing it the information it needs to succeed. But so you might ask, that doesn't make any sense, because I often use LLMs for searching for information. If I have a question that I don't have the answer to, I can't use this intrinsic stuff. All I have to rely on is extrinsic stuff. So I'm going to tell you about a 4-word prompt that will allow you to get the LLM to fetch intrinsic information that it doesn't yet have. Use your search tool. Most chatbots and most, let's call them agent harnesses, have some kind of tool that the LLM can use in order to search the web. For instance, in Claude here, if we go to files, connectors, and blah, 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 then we have this little web search thing just inside there, and I always have this turned on. And for instance, I can ask it which Arsenal players are injured right now, and it will go and search the web and try to find the information. So here we go. It's saying, here's the current Arsenal injury picture, blah, 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 blah. And as you can see, there are citations based on where it's got the information from. Now, it's done a good job this time because, Sonnet is a good model and I like this tool in general. But many tools will not by default go and do this, especially if the model is confident that it knows it in its training set, if it doesn't need to use its search tool. In other words, in order to use its search tool, it needs to be humble enough to be able to say, I don't know, I need to go and fetch this. And so if it's tuned to be really smart, it might just go, oh, I know the answer, let me just repeat it to you. And so whenever you're prompting the LLM to ask it for information, say, use your search tool, because then it will pull the articles into its context and it will answer based on those articles. And you'll be less likely to get hallucinations because you're relying on intrinsic information in the context window. However, remember, there's a category of hallucinations called contextual inconsistency. In other words, even stuff that you provide explicitly to the LLM might just be ignored. Even if you're an airline and you have a chatbot with a bereavement policy explicitly passed to it, it might still get it wrong. And so for really critical stuff, for stuff that's life or death, for health-related stuff, especially for legal stuff, you basically need to ask it, use your search tool, but you then need to go and actually read the documents yourselves. This happens all the time for me when I'm coding too. The LLM will read some code and it might just misinterpret it or not know the full context, and so it spews something out very confidently, and I then have to say, no, that's actually not quite right. So hopefully this video has given you a bit more understanding about what the limits of LLMs are and how you can work around them. And if you have someone in your life who you want to be better with LLMs, or you notice them just slightly using them wrong, then maybe send them this video. And hopefully we can build a world where people don't trust LLMs and instead use them for what they're good at. For instance, they are very, very good at writing code, and I'm running a Claude Code for Real Engineers course over the next 2 weeks. If you dig that, or you dig the idea that real engineering principles can still be used in the AI age, in fact they're better than ever, then sign up to my newsletter below or sign up to learn about when the next cohort is happening. Thanks for watching, folks. This was a bit of a change of pace for me. I don't usually make these kind of wider videos or videos for a wider audience, but I kind of just wanted to get this out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.